Great. So welcome everyone. So we are on week 6 this time. So there is the main reading for week 6, 7 and 8 is going to be the same. It's a big collection, and as I shared already in the email that there are hardly any questions for which you have to refer the theory or the PDF. So you can just go by through this reading material as and when there is no one part that you need to read for one assignment. There is only one thing that was there, about will. About will, I had asked one question in a worksheet, so that I had already kind of indicated for which week it's going to be there. Rest everything is as per your convenience. Yeah, how to strengthen one's will, so that you will be covering, I think, already in week 6, if I'm not wrong. Otherwise, rest of the document you can just go by through all these weeks. Yeah. So is there anything that I need to address now before going through the document? You can let me know anything that you came across. Yeah.
Monica, if we could just in the worksheet, question number 1. This is something that I've been struggling with, something sticking to you. So
Uh-huh.
if you could just share some light on this.
Worksheet.
Yeah,
Let me see. Week 6 you're talking of?
week 6,
Okay,
yes.
let me see. Which question is it?
It's question 1.
Acha, acha, acha. Okay, got it. Yeah. So the question is, have you been practicing offering your movements to the divine? When we begin on this path of surrender, we face difficulties as if something is sticking to us. So this is the part you want me to elaborate upon. And resisting surrender. Okay. Why is that so? Have you been able to observe this in your life as various instances? Okay. So this is a reference to very, very, uh, if I can say, very sticky patterns in our lives. For all of us, those patterns may be different. Just a second. Mhm. I'll stop the share for a moment. So, you know, uh, it's like tendencies which are coming from, really we don't know when, maybe from the past life, maybe from the childhood. We don't know why we identify ourselves with those tendencies so strongly, and yet we know that they are there. We see them, we see that resistance within the being, that there is something in me which is not letting it go, which is not fine with whatever is. So that stickiness, I meant to say, it's almost like a resistance, like a wall, and uh, it can be talked of in various words, kind of a phrases. So one thing I can use is that as if something is sticking to my being, as if some burden is sticking, and that burden or that resistance is not letting me offer or give myself completely to the divine. So that is one way of saying it. Other way can be that there is this one tendency in me, one pattern of behavior, one pattern of thought, which is so closely tied to my existence, as if that I'm not able to let it go. That who am I without that pattern? And that's why the surrender is not happening of that particular pattern. The other way I can put it is, all the patterns and all the thoughts in my head, they're weaved around a story of me and myself. So another way of putting this can also be that I'm not able to give up my story, and I feel a resistance about it, because somewhere I'm still wanting a resolution, कि मेरी कहानी में ही मुझे resolution मिल जाए, मेरी कहानी में ही मुझे peace मिल जाए, मुझे कहानी छोड़नी नहीं है. So that is again something which is sticking to me. So this is what I wanted to refer to in that question. Is that clear now?
Yeah, clear. The only thing is, how does one move forward? One recognizes this resistance, one tries to overcome it, um, but the resistance is quite strong.
Resistance is quite strong. Bilkul, I'm with you. With you. So what is happening is that it's like we have to change the old habit of the mind. The old habit of the mind is to stick to the story and to act as per the story tells ones to act. That we have been doing for a long time. We don't even remember when we started at it. And that is why it sticks so badly, because it is nothing but a old habit, old pattern, right? So we go very gently when we are working with ourselves, and in that gentleness, first of all, this recognition begins to happen, that I see that there is this tendency. Earlier I was not even seeing it, right? Earlier I was not even aware that there is some tendency, because I recognized myself as that story. Now at least a bit of a distance has happened. How? That I see that yes, I am holding on to a story or a pattern or a behavior, and it is sticking. That I also see. I'm not able to let it go. I want to act through it again and again, again and again. And one has to know more and more that this is nothing but an old habit. That day I was sharing that if I'm addicted to white sugar, even now when I'm beginning to realize that white sugar is not good for my health, I will see my hand going again and again to the white sugars box. So this is nothing but the old habit of the physical, the body, the mind. The feelings are also kind of attached there. So we begin with this understanding that I know that this has not been serving me well. Had it been serving me well, I would not have been suffering so badly, right? So first, this recognition has to be there. Now, this recognition is not enough. Living of this recognition has to begin. That is what sadhana is. That I know that I am the awareness which sees all these patterns, right? And now what happens is that now I have to live as if I am that awareness only. Now it is very hard because I have never lived as that awareness. I have lived as the character of my story. And that's where our challenge lies, right? So आप कह रहे हो कि कैसे करें, resistance है, how to go about it? We just keep at it. Whenever the resistance arises in the being, I look at the resistance and notice and validate that yes, the resistance is there. Now I have two options. First option is that to try to shoo away the resistance. I see that that never works. Struggling with the resistance, that never works. Second is to ask the resistance, why are you still there? That also doesn't work. So there is no need to struggle with resistance. Let it be there. Let the resistance be there. But I will act according to my new understanding. I will act what brings me clarity and peace, what does not put me in the puddle again and again. I will act from there. That is a sankalp that one has made to oneself, right? And slowly, we see that the story or that resistance loses grip over us. So it may be still there. It's not that it'll disappear in one day. It may be still there, but you will see that it's not bothering me much. It is there, resistance is there, but I'm still able to act for what is the right thing to act in this situation. I'm not entering my story in spite of the story being there, in spite of the resistance being there. That is where we, take these uh, baby steps. Is that clear?
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
okay,
Thank you.
great. Okay, so anyone else, anything from the worksheet or any question so far, or shall we go ahead then with the reading? If you have before anything to share, just share. Okay. So I'm assuming there is nothing. And as and when anything is there, just feel free to yeah, unmute and share. ठीक है, तो मैं then I'm beginning to share the screen. This is what we'll be going through. Now, challenges on the path, it's almost this week 6, 7, 8 can be actually, you can stretch it into a lifetime because what is there in life if not challenges, right? So progress challenge, it's a mix of that. So again, it is just to give us a taste of how to go about it. It is not all encompassing, yet it will touch on many, many essential aspects of what should be the right attitude. And for those of us who may wonder that what if I don't have the right attitude, um, even then we are very, very safe, because even when we don't have the right attitude, the experiences that we get in life uh, kind of bend us in a way that there is no chance that we cannot have the right attitude at the end, towards the end, and as we grow in this life or the journey. So we are safe, we are very much in safe hands, and even if we are choosing wrongly, we are still in the safe hands. We are not making right decisions, we are still safe, because nothing essential can be lost. The only thing that we that pushes us to walk on this path is that we don't want to suffer, right? And because suffering is not uh, our birthright. Our birthright is whatever, all these facets of life, we can enjoy all of them. Suffering just tells us that I'm not identifying myself truly as who I am. So can I read that signal? Because life is supposed to be an interesting adventure, and not only suffering. Suffering may be a part of it, but once suffering has done its job, it has given its message to us. There is no need for the suffering to exist, and that is why we are here. So let's see what are the challenges on the path and how to go about it. So the first one is, now this book that I suggested, it's a little book. I may have it here. It's a compilation. Yeah, it's a very a little like pocket size book. I hope you all can see it. And it's by Sabda, only rupees 85. It's like gems roaming around in 85, and we get such material things in really hard spent money. So if you guys want, you can order it, those of us who are in India, if they want it. And otherwise, all the material that this book has is also available online, as I shared, on Incarnate Word, this website, and many other websites also. So every material, all the words of Mother Sri Aurobindo are available online. And the moment you type the essential words, you get the desired passages. So that is just a suggestion, this book, because this benefited me a lot. It's just little snippets on sincerity, vigilance, so it's very helpful. Yeah. So let us go about and read about sincerity. What is sincerity? Mother talks about. And who would like to go about it? Maybe somebody can read it.
May I? Sincerity. What is the fundamental virtue to be cultivated in order to prepare for the spiritual life? I have said this many times, but this is an opportunity to repeat it. It is sincerity. A sincerity which must become total and absolute. For sincerity alone is your protection on the spiritual path. If you are not sincere, at the very next step, you are sure to fall and break your head. All kind of forces, wills, influences, entitled entities are there, on the lookout for the least rift in this sincerity, and they immediately rush in through that rift and begin to throw you into confusion. Therefore, before doing anything, beginning anything, trying anything, be sure first of all that you are not only as sincere as you can be, but have the intention of becoming still more so, for that is your only protection.
Yes. So, would any one of you like to share what do you understand by sincerity in your life? Practically, what has been the definition or meaning of how you have understood sincerity? So, what do you mean when you say that a person is sincere or you are sincere? What do you mean by it?
Monica, for me, sincerity would be, a lot of times my sincerity is my commitment to the truth, I think, for me. And that means a lot of time I had to confront my own belief, like I really had to drop it, let it go, surrender, whichever way you want to put it. And in those moments of decision or, making a choice, I put truth above my own personal things. So that's how I look at my sincerity to my spiritual path.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Anyone else? And there is no right and wrong. It's just sharing what we understand by sincerity so far in our life.
No, for a long time, I had this idea about sincerity, matlab serious ho jana.
Hmm.
So I used to kind of run away from it because it always gave that weight. It never felt joyful. After reading what Mother has wrote on it, it has completely changed my idea about what sincerity can be. Otherwise, I always felt that it means, oh, you have to be sincere. You can't be making mistakes. It was a very wrong notion I had.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Great. Thank you. Yeah. Anyone else?
Again, I agree with what Rinku was saying, that um, one sets an ideal for oneself, that to be sincere, you have to be this and this and this. And now what I'm realizing is that just giving your best at whatever is good enough.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Yes. I think Preeti hasn't shared. Preeti, would you like to share anything about sincerity for yourself?
Uh, yeah, hi.
Yeah.
Yeah, we tend to get insincere many times. The lower nature takes over, old tendencies and all. So, all these satsangs and readings and all are really a good, like um, किसी को हमने जैसे पकड़ लिया है, एक और हाथ,
Hmm. Hmm.
which is guiding us.
Hmm.
Otherwise, if we just get carried away in our day-to-day life,
Hmm.
all that just goes in the back,
Hmm. Yeah.
So we just we just live our life just the way we continue living, like that,
Hmm.
all these years that we have lived.
Hmm.
But yeah, once that feeling of aspiration has come, I think then
Hmm.
uh, you start looking for things to hold on to,
Yeah.
which will bring the sincerity and completeness eventually. I guess, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Yeah. Hmm. We are, as you are sharing already, all of you, we do things, and it's we who is doing. We think that I am doing this thing, But I don't even know, I don't even notice what is my intention. For example, I may be smiling at a person and my intention is to get approval from that person, and I don't even know. I don't even know that. And when that person doesn't smile back, I get hurt. And I don't even use the hurt as a signal that what just happened, why did I feel hurt? What was my intention? What was going on here? So it's almost as if we have to turn the microscope that we use for looking and judging people, that what was your intention? Why did you say that to me? And why did that person did that to me in year 1982 or whatever? We have to turn that microscope within the being. This is what is sincerity. And all of you have touched upon it in one or the other way. We have to know what is going on in this body, in this mind, in this feeling that I claim that it is me. It's as if I am the king of the palace and I have bloody no clue what is going on in there. I'm just always in the thoughts. I'm not present to what my intentions are. I am not present to what my patterns of behaviors are. And what happens, not being aware of them, is that those patterns, as if they are sabotaged our life, they are ruling our life, they are running our life. मजे किसके हो रहे हैं? मजे patterns ले रहे हैं. And no wonder that we feel that I'm missing out on life and feel so miserable, because I am the king. I must be the king. But pattern and tendencies and behaviors of I don't know how many lifetimes, they are living my life. So sincerity is that I know what is going on in my thoughts, in my feelings, in my body. The whole game. I know that what is going on. Now that is a different thing, that what action I may take. In the beginning, this sincerity is very feeble, right? So I may not be able to take a sincere action. But one thing that will happen, which will be different from the previous actions, will be that the moment I take an insincere action, I will notice it. Something in me will notice it. Earlier, insincerity was running its own due course, but I was not even aware. Now, as I turn the microscope within, I may still continue be insincere at some or the other places, but it will not be hidden from my sight. I will see that this is what I just did, and I don't need to go there. I don't need to do that. I don't need to lie to that person or to myself or whatever. It can be anything. It can be any domain. So one is then truthful to oneself. हम सबसे बड़े दुश्मन जो हैं, हम अपने खुद ही हैं. I am the biggest obstacle between me and my truth. And the moment I look at these microscopic issues of thoughts, subtle feelings, and the tendencies, how I talk to people, what is the pattern that rules me, the moment I turn attention to this, as if that does not have any power now, slowly more and more less power it has to rule the being. And there we come to self mastery. Mother and Sri Aurobindo talk of self mastery. Without being sincere to my own being, how can I even think of being master of myself? Because who is the master at the moment? Tendencies and patterns. They are the master. And this is what Kabir has said, कि अपने खेत खलियान का ध्यान रख, जाग जा. So because, again, we will go to vigilance now in the next paragraph. So vigilance is to be aware of what is going on in so-called being that I call myself. I am so absorbed in my stories in my head that life is happening and I have no clue how it is happening. And no wonder that I feel so empty and full lack of happiness and joy and progress and everything. So this is what sincerity is, almost turning the microscope within the being. Stop focusing on too much on what other people are doing or saying, or what their intentions were. One may still notice what was the intention, but one will be more careful about my own intention. And once I am careful about my own intention, whatever action will come out, that will be a right action for the other person also. That will not be coming out of some a confused or hazed out state of a mind. So this is what sincerity is. And this is, mother says that it's your true and only protection. Only protection. This is how we slowly become safe. Safe in the sense, not uh, that safe in the sense that we know that why am I suffering, and why I'm feeling heartache today, and what just happened, why is this hurt there. So as if the whole science of the being comes alive in front of me, owing to this sincerity. And there we almost open ourselves to this inner adventure. There is so much happening in the being and I'm not even aware. So now the moment I turn the focus within the being, I see that, wow, there is so much of drama going on. I don't need to go to any movie now, because there is always a drama going on inside. So this is what in other words sincerity can be. Yeah. And then mother says that not only as sincere as you can be, but have the intention of becoming still more so. Why? Because our being is so uh, rich. It has so many little parts and pieces and areas and nooks and corners, that I can never be sure that I have seen all of it, and that I know all of it. I know each nook and corner. And that is why one never knows what pops up from that nook and corner, which did not even notice so far. And that's how mother says that I should have an intention of becoming even more sincere, कि अभी भी कुछ हो सकता है कि मैं miss कर रही हूँ, and I'm not able to see. So it's also grounding, very grounding in nature, that almost stepping back from one's ego, that I know what is going on, not like that. I may have missed, I may have been absent to certain facts in my own being. So that is very kind of humiliating, and uh, humiliating in the other sense, humbling, not humiliating. Yeah. And very grounding in nature. Yes. So mother says that if you're not sincere, what happens is that you enter the confusion and you don't even know why are you there in that confusion. And this happens, uh, it's like a practical experience for each one of us. If I'm not observing my inclinations, my tendencies, why am I saying this, my intentions, the dubious nature that we have, then immediately I'll find up being in a trap, almost like a very confused, hazed out state. And I will be wondering what really happened, that I'm here, I'm feeling so confused and lost. And it'll be, once we trace it back, we'll see that back to back, it's like dominoes, domino effect. Tuck 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 tuck, you did not notice, and it just played its game, and you land up in a big muddy puddle. And then one has to again, rise up from there. We all land up in muddy puddles, but then one has to rise up and use that as a stepping stone. Yeah. So that's it. If there is anything, just ask. That was vigilance. Now sincerity, and now we go to vigilance. Yeah. So if anyone can go through it, that would be nice. Jasmine, Preeti, Rinku, anyone?
Yeah, I'll read.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vigilance means to be awake, uncomfortable, sincere, even treating with pride, wanting to stand at each moment goal and falling asleep, or sometimes even going backwards, telling yourself, oh, later on, not immediately, sitting down on the way. To be vigilant is not merely to resist what pulls you downward, but above all to be alert in order not to lose any opportunity to progress, any opportunity to overcome a weakness, to resist a temptation, an opportunity to learn something, to correct something, to master something. If you are vigilant, you can do it in a few days, what would otherwise take years. If you are vigilant, you change each circumstance of your life, each action, each movement into an occasion for coming nearer to the goal.
Yes.
So
On the,
beautiful.
yeah, yeah, really beautiful and so short and very crisp. Um, or when we read it for the first time, it may appear that I have to do another activity, which is being vigilant. Hmm? And one may begin there, one may start from an activity of vigilance, but that is not it. Uh, where it's not an active process. It may be an active process in the beginning. It's almost falling back into your witnessing, ever present witnessing uh, awareness. Falling back, we are usually so lost in the stories in the head that we are not aware of the ever present witness within us, the one who goes through each and every experience of our life, the one who is aware of each and every experience that we go through in our lives, that witnessing awareness within our being. Uh, so when I begin on this path, it may appear that now I have to be vigilant. Where did I falter? Then it will become very exhausting, this process. And anything that is exhausting in nature is definitely not the path. Because whenever I am exhausting myself, I am trying to become something which is not my true nature, and we will always fail, in the sense that we'll be able to do it for some time, but then we will see that, oh my god, 1 week just exhausted me, or one hour just exhausted me. So that is not the way. Exhaustion is telling me that I'm just doing it too hard. So how I see vigilance is, it's a falling back, or slowing down in life, and falling back into that ever present knowing in me, awareness in me, which is forever there. So it is not an active process, if one can see. So what I have to do here is, I have to actually slow down the activities that I have been doing throughout the day, which involve getting into the story of my head. So I am giving myself a chance not to be lost in the story of the head, but to be aware of myself as that ever present witnessing, the one who is aware. So बार बार मेरा जो attention है, वो story, दिमाग की story की बजाय कहाँ जाएगा? The one who is seeing all this, the one who is there forever, knowing all this. And if I stay in that awareness more and more, it's a passive kind of a state, I will see that I will actually not be able to miss any opportunity to progress. It will happen by default. Because that knowing of my awareness has such a strong clarity that you cannot miss it. So if you did something during the day which you should not have done, according to that the sincerity that we read, that it was a dubious movement, you were saying something else but you were meaning something else, you it will be so hard to ignore it. Because who are you? You are that ever present witnessing aspect, the one who is aware through all those experiences, the one who is noticing all those experiences, but the one who is hushed, It's not a very active presence. So this is what I understand by vigilance. It's almost falling back into my true nature. It's not an added on activity that I do during the day, because that will exhaust me, right? And you will see that in any moment, even if for a little while, if you were able to, uh, you know, kind of, you were able to be there as this noticing aspect, or the knowing, or the aware aspect in your being, you will see that the moment insincerity happens, you will just notice it immediately. It'll have such a strong clarity, and it is not possible then you don't use that as a stepping stone for progress. You will see that this movement is now not necessary, you know, something like that. So vigilance means to be awake, and we are all forever awake. Something in us forever is awake. Something is in us has never ever slept. Even when I was thinking that I was unaware, and I, lost myself into that emotional upheaval, whatever, something in me was still awake. So I never lost anything by losing myself into that situation. That was just an experience. And that gives us the certitude that, wow, I'm safe. I'm forever safe. Because that which is forever awake in me, that is my safeguard. So we almost fall back into that presence within our being. Vigilance means to be awake, to be on one's guard, to be sincere, never to be taken by surprise. And once I am more and more living life as that knowing and aware aspect in my being, I will see that yes, I will not be taken by surprise, because I'm there noticing each and every movement of my being. So how can I be taken by surprise? Because I'll not be able to miss out on things that are happening in my life. We miss out on things because we are in the head, lost in the thoughts and stories. That's why we miss कि ये हुआ कैसे, ये हुआ कैसे? How did I land up here? So when you want to do sadhana at each moment of your life, there is a choice between taking a step that leads to the goal and falling asleep, or sometimes even going backwards, telling yourself, oh, later on, not immediately, sitting down on the way. To be vigilant is not merely to resist what pulls you downward, but above all to be alert in order to not lose any opportunity to progress. So it is now, I'm just kind of, if I can say, translating these words for much, into much an easier perspective, which is not exhausting. Can we fall back into that aware element within me, within the being, which is forever aware, which is forever noticing and witnessing? Can I know myself as that? Imagine that something happens during the day and you see yourself being pulled into a story. Immediately, can I? So I'm almost going to go in the trap of the story. And what I do, I notice this happening, and I notice myself that I am the one who is noticing all this happening. I am the knowing presence. So, what do I want to do? If I am the knowing presence, now what is the right action that I would take? So, action will still be taken, but it will not be coming out of that character from the story. There, almost I reclaim back my freedom. I'm not trapped in the limitation of that character of my story. So, I reclaim all the power back to myself. If I am there, as this knowing presence. Yeah. And then progress comes by default. There is no extra effort that I need to do in order to use that as a stepping stone. Yeah. Yes, mother is saying, if you're vigilant, You can do it in a few days, what otherwise would take so many years. If you are vigilant, you can change each circumstance of your life. Look at this, what power, what power. If you are vigilant, you change each circumstance of your life, each action, each movement into an occasion for coming nearer to the goal. What is the goal? To know ourselves more and more as that absolute freedom, truth, peace, clarity, which is our birthright, which is our nature. More and more live as that. More and more manifest that beauty out. This is the goal. Yeah. So anything on this? If anything is not clear.
Monica, so if supposing one becomes aware that what one is getting drawn into a pattern, right? And the resistance is the stickiness of that pattern is there, but at the same time one is aware. So can both these movements coexist simultaneously? A
That you are
partial
aware, yes, that you are aware, and you also see the resistance, and you also see yourself almost
getting drawn into
pulled.
it.
Yes, they can exist at the same time. As I was sharing that in the beginning, it's like an old habit which is dying. Huh? So I am used to go into the story. I'm used to getting pulled into that resistive mode. But now I also have another aspect to my existence, which is this knowing element. So as if you are parallelly in all of them. So far, the knowing element has not gained much of, if I can say, strength. It's a new thing in my life. So it has not gained much of strength. It will gain strength only slowly when I begin to know myself more and more as that knowing aspect. Okay? So in the beginning, it will happen that I am knowing. I see myself pulled into the story, but the change that will happen is that you will not be able to live your story out with the same intensity as you used to do before. So there'll be reduction in the intensity of going into the story and living out that story or that character or that role. So there'll be reduction, as if it has become mellowed and kind of calmed down that character. So yes, all of them can exist parallelly in the beginning.
Yeah, true. So the intensity of the pattern playing out and the number of times it would play out reduces over time.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
हाँ.
thank you.
So beginning में ऐसा लगता है कि oh, I'm going back into the story. Oh, I see that happening, and I may still get pulled into it, and I may live as that character in the story, but then I will feel very wronged. I will see that I could have done something else. So that knowing will tell me that this need not be repeated again. Now imagine that that instance happens again. So the moment it happens, I will see that now I need not go there. I can be with this clarity. I need not go and do the same drama all over again, because I know that it's not getting me anything, first of all. And secondly, I am not that role in that story. I am this knowing element, this knowing presence. So slowly that story, that character, that drama, it almost loses grip over me. It's almost coming out of an addiction. Imagine that I'm addicted to cigarette or alcohol or anything, physical intimacy, anything. It can be anything that I'm addicted to. And in the beginning, that cigarette appears so, like, I just want to grab it, and I may still fall for it, but then I will know, I should not have, next time I'll not do it. So the more and more I'll kind of be being drawn away from it, because I'll see that I'm not getting anything from it. And slowly, even the, like tons of cigarette lying in my house, and they will not be able to entice me. So that is what happens with the story stops uh, having the power to entice me. Yeah.
Um, can I share something?
हाँ बिल्कुल. Yeah.
I think I started this 3 weeks back when we discussed about the tooth work that I was getting done. And this, what you're saying right now, I just returned from my second last sitting, and he was supposed to cut my bone and put two pins up to hold the cap. And he had briefed me yesterday, but like this, what you're saying, I actually practiced on the chair today. That, theek hai, this is what I have been told. This is the fear I have. And there was this third person who was observing all this, and still the drama is going on.
Yes, yes, yes. Beautiful.
And in between, you kind of shift that मैं डरूं, मैं जो डर रहा है उसका साथ दूं, या जिसको मालूम है मैं डर रहा हूं उसका साथ दूं, or should I wait for the doctor to warn me that okay, he's going to do the so it was yes, this what you are saying, I can make little bit sense right now, that you kind of jump from one personality to other.
Yeah.
And in the end, I think the mind got tired, because it was quite a long time I had to be on that chair. I was almost for 45-50 minutes. So
Yeah.
thak gaya dimag, and then I think it was just like, okay, I know it, I know it, I know it,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
there, I'm there.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah.
Also, what helps is to reflect, and willpower भी थोड़ी बहुत तो चाहिए ही होती है.
Mm.
So like I think who was that, Yasho before Rinkuji, who had put up this
Yes.
question
Yes.
about the intensity and all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so whenever some such tendency which is about to take over, I now immediately am able to see it. And I'm able to tell myself कि अभी हमें we have to stop here because इसे कुछ achieve होने वाला नहीं है. So दिन में अगर 10 बार होती थी तो अब 3-4 बार हो कि you know the like you were just saying कि number of times कम हो जाएगा. आधा घंटा उसमें डूबे रहने की जगह आप आधे मिनट में बाहर निकल आओगे. So then slowly, hopefully,
Yeah.
it will, you know, over a period of some time,
Yes.
you will know when to stop.
Yes.
Also, I don't know, in my situation, this COVID is, you know, I'm in a very different situation. I don't have very many people to be relating to right now. So it is a plus, it's a negative too, because the more you spend more time with yourself and your mind, so it can go on the wrong track as well. And plus it's I don't see much opportunity, like I'm not meeting many people, so I have a very restricted number of my loved ones close to me right now. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, so a lot of things, this mind keeps overworking.
Yeah. So it's almost something which we have covered, but let's go through it. It's always nice to read. So now Preeti has read. Who hasn't read? Maybe Jasmine and Rinku. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I can go.
Yes.
Refuse the lower movements. Sweet mother, how can we empty the consciousness of its mixed contents? By aspiration. By aspiration, the rejection of the lower movements, a call to the higher force. If you do not accept certain movements, then naturally, when they find that they can't manifest, gradually they diminish in force and stop occurring. If you refuse to express, if you refuse to express everything that is of lower kind, little by little, the very thing disappears, and the consciousness is emptied of lower things. It is by refusing to give expression, I mean, not only in action, but also in thought, in feeling. When impulses, thoughts, emotions come, if you refuse to express them, if you push them aside and remain in a state of inner aspiration and calm, then gradually they lose their force and stop coming. So the consciousness is emptied of its lower movements. For instance, when undesirable thoughts come, if you look at them, observe them, if you take pleasure in following them in their movements, they will never stop coming. It is the same thing when you have undesirable feelings or sensations. If you pay attention to them, concentrate on them, or even look at them with a certain indulgence, they will never stop. You must be patient and very persistent.
Yes. So what is lower movements? I think we all have a glimpse of what are lower movements. Mostly if whatever is associated with the ego, the separate entity.
I read as if I am reading to understand, right? No, shut up.
Yeah. So why this distinction of lower and higher movements? What are the higher movements and what are lower movements, right? We can ask this question. And if the lower movements are to be refused, why are they even there, right? So many questions can kind of crop up, and it's just like we are having a taste of every aspect of life. We have tasted lower movements coming from the ego, the sense of me being a separate body, sense of me being a separate self, an incomplete self, and then trying to fulfill that incompletion. These are all lower movements. And this is the mixture. So, in truth, we are peace, clarity, happiness, causeless happiness, joy for no reason. In truth, we are all that, that we talk of, but still we don't feel it. Why we don't feel it? Because our consciousness is mixed with that sense of separateness. It's mixed with the, it's like, imagine that the cloudy, one has a cloudy day today, and it does not mean that the sky is not present. The sky is forever there, but the clouds are also there. So it's a mixture. It's the weather is a mixture. It's a dark weather today. It's a mixture of blue sky, which is ever present, which is for now not seen, plus the dark clouds of that separate entity that we call as ego, that wants to fulfill itself all the time, which wants to fulfill itself through desires, through ambitions, through wanting to have control over life in my way. That person should be acting in my way, my life should be going in my way. This is all what we call as mixture of contents. So whenever we notice these movements, and now owing to the fact that we are realizing that these contents are not serving me well, only then that this journey can begin. Otherwise, one can actually go on living as long as one wants to in these movements. No one can stop it. So when do we begin to call them lower movements? When we see that they seem to take away my peace. They seem to take away my clarity. They put me in a state where I don't feel like being anymore. They put me into suffering. I don't want to be there anymore. So that is a decision that we make. Only then I can call it lower movement. Otherwise, I'm happy with those movements, right? So this is for those of us who are now ready to call them as something which needs to be taken care of. So first is by aspiration, this willingness that we just talked of, a want to have a different life. The rejection of lower movement. So first is this noticing that yes, this movement, I can call it a lower movement. Why? Because whenever I act accordingly, I see that I fall into a dump. I lose my clarity. I just feel very confused, hazed out, and I'm lost as if. So that is what I would call a lower movement. So by aspiration, the rejection of lower movements and a call to the higher force. Why a call to the higher force? Because many a times we see that, oh my God, this is happening again and again and again and again. I'm drawn into this again and again, as if there is no my own power that I can use here. So please help me, help me. So that is what is the higher force. So you are actually praying to your own higher self, because we are not separate. The higher self or the divine is not separate from us. And that is why whenever there is a sincere aspiration in the being, every time there is a response, because they're one. They're one. We are never abandoned. But it's like a free will. If I am not calling, the father is not there, mother is not there. The moment I call, mother appears. And that is why calling is then necessary, because only by calling, mother knows that I am needed. Otherwise, when mother is not needed, mother lets the child play in her freedom. Okay, करो जितना रायता फैलाना है फैलाओ. जब रायता फैला फैला के थक जाओ, तब बुला लेना. मैं तो यही हूँ, मैंने तो कहीं जाना नहीं है. Like that. If you do not accept certain movements, then naturally when they find that they cannot manifest, कि यहाँ तो मेरी दाल नहीं गल रही, as Yasho was sharing, that same story may appear again, that resistance may crop up in the being again, but it will see that, oh my God, मेरे को तो यहाँ पे कोई fuel ही नहीं मिल रहा, petrol ही नहीं मिल रहा. So it will lose power, it will lose the grip. The same tendency which had so much of stronghold over my being will lose slowly power, and that makes me realize that I was the one which was giving it power. So if you refuse to express everything that is of a lower kind, little by little the very thing disappears. And there I get to know that, wow, I was making it real. It was just as if a mirage. I was making it more and more real for myself. Now it has disappeared and it has no sign, no trace left. Where is it? If it was so real, where is it now? And the consciousness is emptied of lower things. It is by refusing to give expression. It's almost, imagine that you are now noticing yourself as the empty space in your being. Or imagine that there is this room. So it does not say no to any feeling that comes. It does not say that this chair cannot be in this space. Yet, it also does not entertain the chair by going close to it and saying, wow, you rock, what a lovely chair and all that. So it does not entertain the chair. The chair is lying in the blank space of the being. It is allowed to be, and yet it is not entertained. Something like that. So it does not become a big deal for me, that chair being there or not being there. My story, being there, not being there, does not become a big deal for me now. Why? Because I have stopped entertaining it. I don't give it much attention. The story may still be there because it's old habit of the mind. I may still have visions of cigarette in my head, but it's okay. I can be with them. So when impulses, thoughts, emotions, the same old patterns, which I have been kind of manifesting so far, when impulses, thoughts, emotions come, if you refuse to express them, कि भैया मेरा हो गया, मैंने कर लिया, बहुत साल एक्सप्रेस कर लिया तेरे को, मेरे को कुछ ना मिला, अब मुझे नहीं करना. Now you refuse to entertain them. So if you refuse to express them, if you push them aside and push, it's a very gentle nudge. It's not like, shoo away, go away, not like that. You just see that and you say, okay, you can be here, go. And that doesn't mean that I'm going to think about it. Just be sure about that. When I'm saying that allow the content to be, it does not mean that allow thinking about the content. You are just allowing the chair to be. You're not thinking about the chair. Because if I begin to think about the chair, then I'm making the chair very, very important. I'm making the story very important. And then it will be that I'll act according to the story, right? So if you refuse to express them, push them aside, remain in a state of inner aspiration and calm. How can I remain in a state of inner aspiration and calm? By being in that knowing presence, by knowing myself as that awareness which is able to have a look at all this, which is able to know the game that is happening in my being. Knowing myself as more and more as that awareness, they gradually lose their force, stop coming. So the consciousness is emptied of lower contents, lower movements. Yeah, and then Mother says that if, for example, the story comes, undesirable thoughts may come, and if you look at them, observe them, उसमें खो गए थोड़ी देर के लिए उसकी ब्यूटी में, और जो भी उसमें तुम्हें लग रहा था कि कुछ मिलेगा, थोड़ा दुख रस ले लूं, कुछ ले लूं, then they will come again, and it's okay. It's a gradual process, but one sees that what is the havoc it plays in me when I begin to think about that story. We all have tasted that havoc, haven't we? We all have tasted. So do I want to go through that same havoc again? If yes, then I go through the story in my head again. My choice. Yeah. Yes, and again, you must be very patient and persistent. So persistence is the key. One must be very, very perseverant on this path, because many times we see that we felt we have taken 10 steps ahead, but something happens and we are on, maybe -1, -2 again, and that is okay. Even then, we don't lose anything. Yeah. So persistence has to be there. Yeah. Anything so far in this?
I can share the part which you started with, that was so important, that one has to be ready for bringing this change.
Mm.
Because with this line of work that I'm doing, I'm finding lots of youngsters around 18, 19-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
and they just either they have just heard or read something, and they just want to shun off their sexual desires, they want to reject it, they want to just suppress it, and it becomes so difficult.
Yeah.
And it is such a huge amount of then work they have to do with me to first come to that acceptance of whatever those desires are, accepting it, and then coming to a level of understanding that okay, jab time aayega tab karna hai.
Mm.
Like it is so true that I need to understand whether am I ready to take this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really appreciate that line, that you have to first agree that whether you want to make this.
Yes, yes, that's true. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So Jasmine is asking, why do we lack perseverance? We can reflect upon that a bit. Jasmine, when you say we lack perseverance, who is this person you are saying I'm lacking perseverance? Who are you referring to? Myself. And what do you mean when you say myself? Do you mean the body? Do you mean the story of you, Jasmine? Or what exactly are you referring to? Who lacks perseverance? Be sure about it. You say that I guess it is the story. Because I see you in this session today owing to your perseverance.
I don't know. I feel like yeah, now that I, put that question out and I said that, I realized it is a story, you know. It's because I think, again, we're not in the present. We're looking for patterns, just making up story as if there's something for us to follow. But, maybe like, I've been, I heard that in my family, just say, but you lack perseverance. You just need to persevere, or, things like that. So I think you make it your story, okay,
that
you lack perseverance.
I am the one who lacks perseverance.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think, yeah.
yeah. We see that actually, even when you say that I may lack perseverance, you will see that in your own life there are many, many fields where you don't lack perseverance. You are very, very perseverant. So it is actually just a
True.
story, nothing else. Yeah.
Oh, it's funny how quickly that came out. That's progress, I guess.
No, great that you brought it up. It's really nice. Yeah, that's how we work upon it. It's like the mind is always looking for labels. अब अपने ऊपर क्या तमगा लगा लूं? And it's very funny to see this operation of the mind. कि पहले तो हम बोलेंगे कि I am lacking patience and all that, and then after some time another label will come up. Now I have a lot of patience. And the moment somebody says something, you feel insulted. All your patience is crap. You're gone. So why do we need those labels? We don't need those labels at all. Neither do I want to call myself perseverant, neither do I want to call myself non-perseverant. So we are just talking of, that whenever we are ready, as Rinku was also sharing, perseverance will come up in the being, because you will need it. So yeah, that's all.
Yeah, so that's right. If we are living in the present, so whatever we need, whether it's perseverance, lack of, or whatever, I mean, not to say lack of, but to say like whatever's needed in that moment,
Yeah,
uh,
we'll be
you
able to
do
do
that.
that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
bilkul. This is very nice. Somebody asks mother that why do bad impulses and thoughts come. For example, one sadhak came to mother and he said that, I'm fine throughout the whole day, but when I sit in front of you, all the bad impulses and thought, all of that kind of, just emerges in the being. And this is what mother shares, that at that place also, that it is perhaps because you can show it to me, you can share it with me, because light does not need light, only darkness needs light. So these so-called bad impulses, bad thoughts, they are the ones who are needing light. So if you keep on hiding them forever, how will forever they will, poor guys will be cleansed, So that is the reason that all these resistances, all these, all the muck tendencies from within, they come up more and more as we begin on this path, because now we are ready to shine the light of our knowing on these issues, which I was not prepared to earlier. I was not strong enough to look at them in with so much of blunt and honesty. But now I am ready. So they will come up, show up more and more, so that it can be cleansed. Imagine that you are putting a trouser, a very badly used trouser, which has maybe used by a kid. It has sand in the pockets and all that. So if you put directly that trouser in the washing machine, or try to wash it, you will see that the moment it comes out of the machine, even when it is washed, the pockets will have some residual sand. So it's like the pockets have to be inverted inside out if we really want to cleanse it. So this is what happens with our own self also. And the more we become capable of handling more dirt, the more those pockets kind of are, turned inside out, so that they can now undergo thorough cleaning, with the light of knowing that we are now. Earlier I was not ready, so I was not aware of it. And this is actually the purpose of ignorance. And Sri Aurobindo and Mother reflect upon it, share upon it, that the purpose of ignorance, imagine that you are sleeping. Huh? In the morning you are sleeping and you have curtains drawn in the room. So curtains are helpful. Why? Because when you are getting off from your sleep, eyes are not ready to take all the sunlight. So the curtains of ignorance are ready, are useful there. The eyes will get slowly acclimatized to the bright sunshine. So now you have a thin curtain, then you have a thick curtain, and as and when you become ready, those curtains are drawn off. Then we are ready for the bright light of the sun. So ignorance is almost like a curtain, which is needed in the beginning as we are ripening, maturing. And when we are ripening, maturing, layers and layers of ignorance are shed off as we become capable to receive more and more light or grace. Uh, yeah. So that is the purpose of ignorance being there. Yeah. Yes. So Mother here shares that you don't have to come to me like a saint. You better come to me like a sinner, because it's the sins that need to be washed off. And when I say sins, it just means that whatever is mixed with our true nature, whatever uh, clouds our true knowing of ourselves, that is what is a sin. So yeah. Yes. And then Mother shares something on despair, that that uh, people are despairing, oh my god, it is not happening with me and I am unfit and all that. So Mother shares that despair is a no almost, because it is always a sign of weakness and tamas. That I don't want to actually push myself out of that inertia, or being who I am right now, full of my tendencies and patterns. And then what is the easiest way? Let us despair. So despair is a sign of weakness and tamas. Hmm? Yeah. And one who has faith, if only in himself, people who may not be even knowing the word divine, one who has faith, even if only in himself, can face all difficulties, even the most difficult and adverse one, without discouragement and despair. So one takes life as a अपॉर्चुनिटी कि चलो चैलेंज मिला है, देखते हैं अब क्या है, देखते हैं जरा इस चैलेंज में क्या पड़ा है, इस चैलेंज में क्या पड़ा है. Even when that person has no idea about the word called divine, that is completely fine. Yeah, he fights like a man to the end. Yeah. And those natures, those people who lack that faith, also lack endurance. They are very sensitive, and easily fall into despair whenever something not really great happens. Yeah. So then one has to build up from there, kind of. Okay, so we have almost covered a lot of part which was essential. Anything, rest of it is also essential, but I would say, uh, so let's take up something from in between, and then we are maybe done for the day. 10-15 minutes more. Yeah, let's read this one. This is really very inspirational passage. The only way out. So Jasmine, would you like to read? Do you have the capacity to read, if you can? Or if you can't, that is also okay. You can just let me know. Okay, I don't know where Jasmine is. So let's see, I'll read. You see, in the present condition of the world, circumstances are always difficult. And this Mother is talking, so many years ago. So circumstances have always been difficult for some or the other reason, right? The whole world is in a condition of strife, of conflict between the forces of truth and light, wanting to manifest, and the opposition of all that does not want to change, which represents in the past what is fixed, hardened, and refuses to go. As we were talking about, the old pattern of the mind, that it has been running in one way for so many years, so it refuses to go, that pattern or that tendency, even when we see that it is not serving us well, right? So that is the fight which has forever been there. Just a second. Naturally, each individual feels his own difficulties and is faced by the same obstacles. This struggle almost of truth and darkness, and light and darkness, truth and dishonesty, this is all that we face in our own being, right? Each one of us individually, as we do also collectively. There is only one way for you. It is a total, complete, and unconditional surrender. Now, this surrender we have talked of earlier also is an ongoing process. It's an ongoing process. What I mean by that is the giving up not only of your actions, work, ambitions, but also of all your feelings, in the sense that all that you do, all that you are, is exclusively for the divine. Now, this can be talked of to people who have a knowing of the word called divine, who have a faith. And it's only to those people that this can be talked of. And that's why we are here. So it's almost dropping to live for the ego. Now, I've been living for this story for such a long time. And now I don't want to live for the story. It exhausts me, it drains me out. So even when I'm not knowing the word divine, when I refuse to live for the story, I'm actually living for the divine. This is the beauty. So you feel above the surrounding human reactions, not only above them, but protected from them by the wall of the divine's grace. Now, a person who is not knowing this divinity or divine grace, even that person is protected by divine grace. Because the thing that he's doing is he's refusing the part to participate in the story. He's saying, no, I don't want to live for the story. I don't want to live the rest of my life living for this story in my head, because it has not given me anything. It has just taken away peace from me. Once you have no more desires, no more attachments, once you have given up all necessity of receiving a reward from human beings, whoever they are, knowing that the only reward that is worth getting is the one that comes from the Supreme. And what is that reward? When I stop to live for the story, the biggest reward that I get is being truly myself, living out truly myself, is peace, is clarity, is happiness without reason, is owning my own being. This is all, they are gifts from the Supreme. This is our birthright. Yeah. And we will see that, when Mother says that once you have no more desires, we will see that all these desires, attachments, all of these incompletions are actually part of the story only. So if I am now refusing that, I don't want to go into the story in my head, I will see that it is automatically that happens, that desires are just kind of falling off my being. Attachments are falling off my being. I did not do any active process. It just fell off, owing to the fact that I did not give support to the story. So it is a byproduct that the desires fell off. It is the byproduct, and again, the desires may spring up again. But then I am on this path. I'm on this path, and the moment any desire or story against for the desire comes up, I see that whether it is to be followed or not to be followed, right? And from there, from that space, I take the right action. Yes. There is no other remedy. It's the only remedy for everybody without exception. To all those who suffer, it is the same thing that has to be said. All suffering is the sign that the surrender is not total. And when we say all suffering is the sign surrender is not total, it means that if I have a minutest bit of suffering in my life right now, I can be sure that I am knowing myself as the story in my head somewhere or the other place, and not as the knowing or the witnessing element in my being. So can I read this signal and get off my story? I just have to get off my story. Witnessing presence forever I am. That is my truth. I have to get off the story. Stop feeding it, stop fueling it. Yeah. Yes. And then people ask, but mother, where to get such strength? It requires such a strong strength in the being. How do I get that strength? And mother says it is within you. The divine presence is in you. You look for outside, now look for it inside. You want the appreciations of others to gain strength, get strength, you will never get it. When I am giving my power away, seeking for someone's approval, कि जब तक तुम हाँ नहीं बोलोगे तब तक मैं समझूंगी नहीं कि मैं वर्दी हूं. I am actually giving my power away, giving my strength away. The moment I stop depending on others for feeling of worth or satisfaction or contentment or feeling worthy, I see that, oh my God, that I feel so powerful. This power was always within me. It's just that I was not using it. It's just that I stopped to look at it, that yes, it is there with me. It's so the moment I stop being handicapped on external situations for my peace, my happiness, I see that I reclaim my power back. It was forever with me. I was the one who was giving it away again and again and feeling weak in the process. Yeah. And then mother says that if you go deep inside enough, you will find it there like a flame that is always burning straight up. Yeah. I think that's what I wanted to touch. You can again go through that. This is also really beautiful, this passage, contacting that. It is also really very nice. So, yeah, yeah, when you will go through it. Jasmine, you want to share something? Okay.
Oh, sorry. No, I think I just unmuted by
Okay.
mistake. Maybe I wanted to at that time, but nothing right now. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, this is very useful because I think it's so easy to get caught up. It's like this week, by the time I had the conversation with this session on Sunday. So by the time Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday came, I think where you get caught up in your stories.
Yeah.
And I think I needed this session.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
So rest of it, also go through this also. I'm sure you will go through the whole document, but this is also very powerful, contacting that. So that is from my side. And if there is anything, any ifs and buts for now, for the session, please share. And if not, then we can call it a day. Yeah. Okay. So in that case, yes, thank you for joining. Thank you for the discussion, sharing.
thank you, Monica.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.